Hey guys, welcome to Two Wavy Girls on the Internet. I'm Allison Lupo.
And I'm Swavy Curly Courtney. We celebrate all things wavy curly and wonderfully real.
And we play around with all the products and read the back of the bottle so you don't have to. So that is what we are here today. And today's topic is a biggie. You guys requested this one, and I'm so excited to be doing a podcast with you, Courtney, that's all about something that you guys requested. Like, we've done a number of ones that we thought were really interesting, but what we got on our last podcast recording was questions all about how do I cut my own hair? How do I talk to my stylist? All of those kinds of things. So today, that is what we are diving into.
And it's very exciting because, as I've mentioned before, this year, 2025, I will be getting my cosmetology license. So I will be able to talk way more knowledgeably about this in December of 2025. But I do have some practical experience DIY cutting my own hair. So I'll be bringing that type of perspective, and you're going to be bringing the super professional perspective to this.
Well, thank you. Thank you, friend. I will be bringing the professional perspective, but also the perspective of someone who just got her haircut today. So if you had been following along on my Instagram stories earlier today and earlier this week, I had a haircut with another professional. I usually cut my hair over the sink. I generally know what I'm doing. So I do that a couple times a year myself. But then twice a year, I generally will have a professional cut my own hair because it's so hard to get to the back of your head and do all of the things. So I do like to go and still have my hair cut by a professional. And I did not cut off the 12 inches I had fantasized about cutting off. You know, I've been a short hair person for much of my life, and I have fancied myself a short hair person. I do think that the vitamins I've been taking, the care I've been taking of my hair over the last few years, it is thicker than it's ever been in my entire life. And I'm not bragging. I'm just honestly surprised. And so when I, blew my hair out early this week and I made myself a ponytail in my fist, I was like, okay, I feel like I have more hair than I used to. Maybe I could play with this a little bit longer. So I decided to keep it a little on the longer side, took about 2, maybe 3 inches off just to clean it up. And now I will not get another professional haircut for another 6 months. But I thought I would talk to you guys about what I asked for today, how our conversation went. And Courtney, what do you have to add or anything you would like to ask? Or I don't want to just talk myself blue here.
Well, I am sitting here looking at your lovely new haircut here on the live YouTube. But if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or other podcast platforms, her hair looks so soft, and she's got some layers in it. There's some shorter layers in it. It's got a gorgeous rounded shape, but it's very cohesive. You don't see the layers. It just looks nice and rounded, and really just slightly 2 inches shorter and more round. It's absolutely glorious.
Why, thank you, friend. She combed through it over and over and over again. She did not style it after the cut. I just didn't really want to have to go through all that. I wanted to get out. I wanted to pick up my kids from school. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention on this podcast. Not all stylists are open to doing a dry cut and let you run out the door. But I think if you're a client who has come in many, many times, that might be an option for you. If speed is a price, if speed is an option, something you're wondering about, if price is an option and they're willing to negotiate on price. Sometimes stylists need you to have a full appointment, and sometimes they're like, thank goodness for a little break. Yes, I will shave 20 or 30 bucks off the price of your appointment if I don't have to wash and style and do all that kind of thing. So I feel like I do that for a handful of my clients occasionally that I know their hair very well. I usually don't have to do any adjustments at the end. So just something I wanted to throw out there at the beginning, that my hair was defined this morning when I go see let's just start from the beginning. I'm going to tell you my process and what I ask my clients to do. I do ask my clients, especially if I've never seen them before, if this is a new client, please come with your hair for a wavy haircut with it down and styled the way you normally wear it. Not up in a bun, not after you've been working out, because if you want a dry haircut, I want to be able to see your hair. I want to be able to see the waves. I want to be able to see those curl patterns at their best, at their springiest, if that's what you're usually going for. So day 1, wash day, or day 2 hair is preferable. Have you heard that before?
So way back in 2019, there were a bunch of sweet curly girls sharing their experience with curly cuts on Instagrams, and they were being told to come in for their dry cut with their curls unstyled, like no styling product in it, and they would cut it that way. But if I were to have done that, I would have come in with straight hair. My
Right.
hair does not hold any sort of wave whatsoever when there's no gel or mousse or anything in it.
I certainly think that there's a reason for that. And of course, there are a lot of different textures, wavier, looser curls, tighter curls, the way people style their hair differently if your hair is especially tangle prone. And I think one of the reasons for that is, this is just me surmising, but I'm thinking that a lot of the time when I have a client that has curlier hair or longer hair or more tangle prone hair, I have a hard time at the beginning going, "Oh, there are a lot of tangles I have to work through." I know that's automatically going to add time to the cut. It's not the end of the world for me. I know what to do. I know how to work through it. Most stylists do, right? Not a big deal. But if you're telling someone to come in with their hair not styled and down, what you're really saying is, don't have product build up on your hair. Make sure your
Okay.
hair is clean. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I was guessing when I heard that, because like you, if I went in without anything in my hair, I would be straight and very, very frizzy. And they would be like, "Why are you here for a curly haircut? This doesn't
Uh-huh.
make any sense."
Mhm.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Now, I will say that there's a balance there. Even wavies, when we go in with our hair styled, if you put in your hardest hold gel and your hair is really crunchy and hard to work through, it's going to be a terrible experience for you and for that stylist, because that hair is really going to be crunchy and clumped together. So I would choose a lighter weight styling product, something that maybe doesn't have a ton of hold, but still is able to showcase your natural texture.
Absolutely. So, since you shared about your haircut, I'll share about mine. Currently, I am working on growing out my hair. That is one of my curly hair resolutions for 2025. I want to see
What's your target length? Do you have one?
as long as it will go.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fun.
I'm just playing around with seeing how well I can encourage, closer to that 1 inch of growth per month versus the half inch of growth per month. So that's the typical range for hair growth. The average human will grow half an inch to a full inch of hair per month, an inch being on like the very fast growing hair side of things. And your hair can grow at different rates depending on the time of year. In the winter, your hair tends to grow at a slightly slower rate. And in the summer, when we get a lot more sun, our hair tends to grow at a faster rate. It's very interesting. We're like plants. We need the sunshine for our hair to grow.
We are like plants in so many ways. We are but of plants. I mean, really.
So currently, I don't have anything super exciting going on in my haircut, and I'm having to work real hard with the volume because I am working on growing out my hair and I want my ends to remain full and lush looking. Everything is pretty one length in my hair, and there are very, very few layers in my hair currently. So I have been on the far extreme side of things where I've basically had a female mullet, super short layers on top and very long, long hair on the underneath side. I found that personally, the more extreme my layers got, there was a point of diminishing return there where the more layers I got, my hair looked wavier, it looked curlier, it was easier to style. And then I, of course, because I'm Courtney, pushed that envelope way too far and got things way too stretched out. And so no longer had any clumping happening because the layers were too far apart. But currently, my beloved hairstylist that lives so close to me, that has been with me since 2018 when I started styling my hair wavy curly. I'm so happy for her. She just got married and moved away.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she was also a very forgiving soul too. When you came to see me and I cut your hair a couple of times, she didn't mind. So bless her heart. We do not need to be possessive stylists. We can share. There are enough people in the world.
Absolutely. She is one of the absolute sweetest people ever. She is so kind, and I am so happy for her new adventures. Her name is Christian Light, and she is in Florida. So if you live in Florida and would like a fantastic curly haircut, find Christian Light, and
Where in
you
Florida
will
did
be
she move?
happy.
Do you know?
I don't.
Okay. I was going to say, people want specificity. Well, you'll have to update the show notes when you find out at some point in time if you're able to do that.
Absolutely. So I am currently hairstylist free here in my hometown. So Allison, prepare yourself. I will be coming to see you next time.
I'm ready for you.
There's nobody here that I know of.
I'm happy to help. I know I'm far from you, but we'll have to find you somebody. We'll find you somebody. But come see me in the meantime. I'll take care of you. I thought it'd be fun if we each went through when we go get a haircut. Generally, what is it that we ask for? What are the things? I want you to tell me if I was cutting your hair today, what would be the things that you would ask for? And then I'll go through the things that I would ask for, and I'll go through my process of what I do with a client. Does that sound like fun?
It sounds perfect.
Okay,
now, it's a little unfair if I'm talking to you about sitting in your chair and you cutting my hair, because I know you and you know me, and I can be super vague. So if I was sitting in Allison's chair and being incredibly vague, I would just say, meh, dust the ends, give it a little bit more shape. I kind of want to be able to pull it all back in ponytail. Well, actually, not anymore, because I'm not allowing myself to pull my hair back this year. But that would be the general rule.
But that is the beauty of being able to see a stylist that you know and have seen a few times, and you kind of have a vibe. So if you get to that point, or you're already at that point with your stylist, man, treasure that, because that's a good thing. If you walk out of there usually loving what you get, like, that's wonderful. I mean, there are going to be times you get something, you're like, did she give me layers on the side of my head? You know, she might have forgotten because you had a really good conversation. I know that happens sometimes. I'm not from personal experience, but I do know it happens sometimes. So if not talking to me, then talking to any stylist, what are the major things that come to your mind? For me, it's generally, I break it down into 3 parts. I break it down into overall length, layers, and then any kind of like bits around the face, whether it's a fringe or face frame or both, that kind of thing. That's kind of where my mind goes when I start talking to a client, and I'm also talking to a hairdresser for my own self.
So run through those 3 things again, those 3 compartments. Overall length.
Overall length, like, where do you want to see your hair land on your body? I feel like that's such a good way to communicate. Like, I want to see it kind of be right in here, right? Well, I then will ask my client, okay, let's find your collarbone, and we'll find her collarbone. So we'll say, well, then that's about an inch or 2 inches lower than your collarbone, right? So we then kind of use body mapping, I guess, in a way, right? So I'll use that, and then I'll talk about the back of their hair. Do you want it to be like a curve on the back of, like, if all your hair's behind you, do you want to have a curved shape? Do you want to have a straight across shape? Do you want it to be longer in the front than the back, so you have kind of like an A-line situation? And I'm looking at your hair, Courtney, and it has a nice curve to the back. I know you, I believe, cut your own hair. You did a DIY something not too long ago. We'll have to talk about that in a moment. But I will talk about the general shape. Where do you want it to land in the front where you see it? How do you want the shape to be in the back, generally speaking? And we go from there. But I always, 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 as a curl specialist, and if you're another curl specialist listening to this, I know you probably already do this, or if you're a hairdresser and you're like, I don't cut curly hair because it makes me kind of nervous. Well, guess what? You got to take spring factor into account. So the first thing I will do before I cut anybody's hair is pull those waves down and let go and see where they spring to. On a wavy, it's generally going to be anywhere from an inch to about 2 inches of spring factor, depending on the product she has in her hair. Is it day 1 or day 2? Did she diffuse? Did she air dry? Those are the major considerations I think of when I look at wavy spring factor. And then I ask them, do you normally diffuse? Do you normally air dry? Those kinds of questions are super, super helpful, because if they normally diffuse, their hair is not going to spring as much. I know I can take a little bit more off. I'm basically giving them an air dry haircut. If they diffuse, right? If they diffuse, I know their hair is going to spring more. If I've never cut their hair before and it's particularly springy, I might do things in reverse order and completely wash and style their hair, check my spring factor, and then give them a haircut, because I want to know where those curls are going to land. So I take a lot of things into consideration before I even do the baseline cut, because the last thing I want is someone walking out of my studio upset because she feels like I scalped her because I took off 6 inches and I meant to take off 2. So there are just so many of those things you got to check. I sometimes take pictures, show those to them and say, does this look good? And show them the picture, show them the line where I'm thinking about cutting. And then we come to that conclusion. Then the next step is layers.
So when I am asking for layers, currently what I'm asking for is long convex layers.
Okay.
Does that sound correct?
Yes, I don't normally use convex or concave so much. I know what they mean, but I generally base
Talking
my layers.
to a
Uh-huh.
non-curly hair trained stylist, is that good language to use? Somebody who's not necessarily accustomed to cutting
Oh,
wavy
yes.
hair?
I would say that's pretty standard. I would say that's pretty standard. But
Okay.
I think when you start talking about convex versus concave, yes, that can make sense, but it might not make sense to the layperson. The layperson might not say that to their stylist because they might not understand what that means. Like, so you've got your concave layers, which are going to be out here, and then your convex layers, which are going to be the opposite, right?
My head has
So
not been that way.
but your head doesn't really work that way. So what I prefer to do, I mean, I'm sure that it makes sense to a lot of people that are doing very structured haircuts because they're imagining how they want the hair to land in a straight way, whether that's around the face in a face framing way, or if they want the hair to flip out in a different kind of way, right? And I
Right.
know that it's pulling it up and then over some direction this way or that way with your hands, your fingers flexed in a backwards position or in a towards your hand position. Nobody understands that. Nobody understands that in my experience. So I
Gotcha.
generally will ask, where do you want to see bits of pieces, hairs that stand out that say, I am a layer. I am a layer. I am a layer. Where do you want to see that shape happen? And if there's
Mhm.
someone who really doesn't like to see bits and pieces sticking out, then I will probably cut those layers a little bit chunkier. So that's getting into a whole lot of detail here, but
Right.
basically, I want to know where they want to see that shape. Do they want a more diamond shape where they have less in here and more up in here so that we have
Mhm.
a lot of layers that are up in this area? That's almost going to be kind of like a shag haircut. If I want to see more density at the bottom, then I'm going to leave that bottom blunt and then work superficially on the layers, kind of right at their ears or above, and then find bits and pieces to connect from around their ears down to the bottom of the longest parts of their length.
And I have found as a wavy with looser texture, my hair is very fine. It's a loose curl pattern. When I'm sitting in someone's chair who is not specifically curly hair trained, like Allison, when I use the language concave, wait, no, convex, I have to remember. When I say short, nope. When I say long convex layers, see, you've got to get very specific. What that means to a regular hairstylist who typically gives wet cuts is there's going to be minimal distance between the shortest layer and the longest layer. There's not going to be a ton of distance between the layers. And those convex layers sit really well. It gives that slightly rounded shape to the ends of my hair that I'm looking for as somebody with waves who doesn't want my hair to be a triangle. I want it to kind of like have a nice rounder shape. It's when I say those magic words, convex layers that are longer, that I am able to coax the right haircut out of somebody who's not specifically curly hair trained, which leads to a great question. Is it okay to get a regular wet haircut as a wavy curly gal? I'm also going back and forth on coloring my hair, and I'd love your thoughts. Here are my personal thoughts on getting your hair colored. I tried. Maybe I tried the wrong way because I went real hard with the bleach. I'm Courtney and I overdo everything. I have found that for me personally, when my hair is incredibly healthy, I shockingly love, love, love the natural color of my hair. Anytime in my entire 36 years of existence, well, I'm 35 now, but I will be 36 this year. In my entire existence, anytime I have tried to color my hair, I have found that it's clashed with my natural coloring. It has made me look more sick, more drab. Anytime that I have fully had my full head of hair that is my natural hair color, it's like God knew what he was doing. And he gave me the hair color that suited me and my skin tone and my undertone and everything perfectly. When I nurtured and cared for really well what he gave me. When I wasn't caring for my hair really, really well, and it was my natural hair color, it looked terrible. But that's a whole
It
nother
didn't
story.
look terrible. I'm going to disagree with you there, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, especially if it's the wrong color. So I will say though, for what it's worth, color and bleach are completely two different animals. So,
Absolutely.
right. So when I see people getting their hair colored, the wonderful thing about color, I will say, and yes, it's totally fine to get your hair colored, especially if you're gray or silver stranded. And I don't mean that you should. I think everyone should do what they want. And I love silver hair. I think it's absolutely beautiful. But one of the things that I have learned over the years is that color on gray hair actually helps to pull water, draw water to and into the hair. And
Mhm.
that's something that when I have found a lot of my clients have gone gray and embraced their silver strands over the years, those silver strands, a lot of the time, not always, want to do something completely different. They have their own idea of what they should look like, and they don't curl the rest of their friends. But when you put color on them, they do. So it's
Mhm.
just a really interesting dynamic between how water reacts with color and how it reacts with silver strands, which is not the same on your regular, not dyed, not silver hair. That doesn't necessarily matter. You won't really see a difference if you color your hair and how it reacts versus if you don't color your hair. But if you bleach your hair, bleach does something completely different to the actual cuticle, and it sort of just messes with its integrity a little bit. And in doing so, it loosens your curl pattern and can completely change it until that hair grows out again. It's not permanent, it's not forever. But if you bleach your hair for a long time, and let's say your hormones change, life changes, all kinds of things happen, you might say, my curls never came back. So it's
Right.
just kind of funny the way things work. But yes, no, bleach will not permanently alter your hair as it grows out, but it will permanently alter the hair that's already on your head. Oh, now she asked also, is it okay to get a regular wet haircut as a wavy girl? And I don't want to glaze over that question. I think that's really important. Of course, anything is okay. Go get a regular wet haircut as a wavy gal for sure. The reason that these curly haircuts exist, in my experience, and Courtney, please jump in and tell me if you feel differently or know something different from what I know, is that how do I want to phrase this? Curly haircuts exist for the most part for people that have wildly different textures on their hair. So
Yes.
if you have, like by your ears, I see a lot of wavies that have really straight bits by their ears and then really tight curls underneath. And then in the back, they'll have an area that's really curly or really straight, or they're really curly or really straight on top. And so what those curly haircuts do is create this illusion of beauty, balance, and shape. So you create a totally custom haircut for that person based on their curl pattern to make everything look even, to make the shape look exactly like it should. But if I were to give that person a wet haircut and pull everything out straight and cut it to the same point and pull up their hair and cut those layers to the same point, that person would end up with a very uneven, very, very bad haircut. And they would be very mad at me when they left, and they would not know what I did wrong.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing, that it is, in my personal experience, the majority of my curly hair life, I've been getting wet cuts because that is what Christian Light was really good at doing for my hair. We played around with it, we tried different cuts, and I had best results when I had wet cuts with the right type of layers in my hair. So I absolutely got a regular cut and it was just fine. I've also had incredible dry haircuts from curly hair specialists like Allison. I've had great results with both. So it's not necessarily mandatory that you find somebody who is specifically curly hair trained in order to get a great haircut for your waves and curls.
And you could also find someone who's curly hair trained, but maybe they don't cut curly hair very often and they just happen to be trained. And
Yes.
so you found them on the Diva Curl website or something. And they were like, oh, yeah, I can do this, but that's not something they normally do. You might be disappointed. Or you might someone that actually kind of micro specializes in curlier hair. And then you walk in as a wavy and they're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. Like, not really. This has happened to me. And I learned a lot from the experience. I learned that those micro specializations within even the curly hair community make a difference. I walked out of there feeling like I didn't even get a haircut because this person was so used to cutting eighth of an inch off of most of their clients, and that person cut an eighth of an inch off of my hair and treated me the same. And I was like, oh, this is not what I wanted, but I learned a thing. So those things are important too. So I always tell people, if you want a curly haircut, I urge them to look on the Diva Curl website, the Curly Hair Artistry website, the Riso Curls website. If there are others, please let us know that you know of. If you know of more, Courtney, let me know. And then when they find those names of people that are in their area, look for them on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and see if you can kind of figure out maybe what their area of specialization is, if you like their style. And, if you have a number of people near you, maybe you have some choices. If you don't, go roll the dice and see what happens.
And that leads us into do's and don'ts of DIY haircuts. Okay, you have your stylist, you got her trained, y'all are communicating beautifully, but maybe you would like to stretch the time in between those trims, those trips to the stylist. Allison, what is the biggest don't of a DIY haircut?
Don't use your kitchen shears. Do not.
Really? They're accessible. They're right there.
But put them somewhere where you cannot find them if that is the temptation, because I would never, ever, ever in a million years, use my wonderful, sorry if this is noisy, use my wonderful shears on paper. I would never use them on plastic. I would never use them to cut open the bag of dog food that I know you use your kitchen shears for, and then go and use that on my hair, because they're not as sharp as you think they are. And because the blades have so much more space in between than you think they do. The blades are much longer than a normal pair of shears. So you really can't tell what you're doing, and you will accidentally cut off too much. And that is my second bit of advice, even though you only asked me for one to start, is cut off less than you think you need to.
Now, I know this might feel like a sacrilegious question, but does the DIY hair cutter from home need to go buy $500 hair shears? Or are those very attractive $20 hair shears on Amazon acceptable for just the DIY haircuts at home over your sink?
I think that the $20 shears on Amazon are totally fine. In fact, I have a DIY haircutting class on my website. You can look at that if you want to check out the things. It's called the DIY touch-up trim. It's not a full give yourself like a pixie cut and your hair came down to your butt before then. You could certainly apply those principles if you wanted to, but don't call me angry, because that's not what the class is about, okay? The class is DIY touch-up trim. It's about doing the thing over your sink. And the reason I mentioned that class is because, number one, it is on sale right now. It's 30% off at the moment, so check that out. And number two, there is an Amazon shop that I have associated just with that. So if you go to my Amazon shop, which you can find the link to in the show notes with all my resources, I have you can find any pair of scissors on Amazon, but I have a couple of favorite pairs of scissors in that shopping list that's just for that class. So you can check that out. I think it's really fine to use those shears as long as you promise and pinky swear you will only use those shears on your hair, and you will not, and on your child's hair, you will not use them to cut open the bag of dog food, because once you start using them on other things, to cut the tag off of something, to cut open the thing because they were there in your bathroom, that metal is so soft. The cheaper the pair of shears, more than likely, the softer the metal is. And so they are not going to be sharp forever. I love my mom, but my mom has a pair of shears, hair shears, in her bathroom that's been there for 30 years. And I tell you what, those things cannot cut anything anymore, but she believes that they are still good. And Susan, they are not still good. I'm going to buy you a pair of shears to keep in your bathroom for Christmas. I'm put them in your stocking, because the thing is, you really can't use those for as long. And that's why they are inexpensive. My
Yes.
$500, $800 pair of shears are expensive because they are going to last me, assuming that I don't drop them 3 times a day. They're going to last me the most of the duration of my career.
That's incredible. So I'll give my do's and don'ts of DIY haircuts for what they're worth, as somebody who cut her own hair for years at one point because we lived abroad and I was scared to go to a stylist in a foreign country. Probably shouldn't have been. That was my own fault. But I did get some experience DIY cutting my own hair. I personally had really long hair and I enjoy layers. Are we seeing a trend here?
Oh, oh, Courtney. Oh no. I feel like we need to have an episode that's like confessions of two wavy girls. That one's probably coming up. I feel like that.
Next episode, make sure you're subscribed, that you are following this podcast, that you are prepared, because we got some juicy confessions coming up.
And if you want to submit your own confessions, we'll share some. That would be fun too. Okay. Okay. So go ahead and do it. Let's hear it. I'm going to be quiet now. Listen, what's your confession? Go ahead.
I've heard mixed opinions on what I did from various hairstylists. Some hairstylists loved it and said that this is the best haircut they'd ever seen. And then I told them I did it myself and how I did it, and they were wildly impressed. And then other people heard what I did and they threw up a little bit in their mouth. So what I did is I bought that Kriya clip that you've seen. It's that hair leveler. It's kind of like a smile, or I'm doing the upside down version, because I would flip my head upside down, brush everything very, very smooth when my hair was wet. Take this Kriya clip, put it in the sad face, the frowny face, clip it in my hair and run it down. What that does is it creates kind of a foolproof guide for dummies. And I would just point cut the ends off. What I mean by point cut is, instead of turning the shears completely parallel to the Kriya clip, I would actually turn my shears perpendicular and cut.
So your shears were like parallel to your hair though, and not perpendicular to your hair strands that were flipped upside down.
Yes.
So you're cutting into your hair, not across your hair.
And because my hair was pulled completely forward and everything was super, super smooth, when I took off the Kriya clip and flipped my hair right side up, it gave me a really pronounced, perfect V haircut that is very, very layered and pretty even, not too bad. Like, there were no chunky, weird layered bits or anything chilling in my hair. Then if I hated how much of a V it was, I would part everything perfectly in the middle, bring everything to the front, and just snip off the rat's tail V in the front. And then that would give me a little bit more of a level / U-shaped haircut.
I love your daring nature, and I'm not against it. It's why I created a DIY haircutting class, because I feel like haircutting is so fun. Like, did you have fun doing that? You had fun. When my clients come in, I know who my hair cutters are, right? They'll come in, they'll be like, I did a thing. And I'm like, tell me all about it. Was it fun? Did you love it? What do we need to fix anything? Or is it pretty much good? Like, what are we doing? You know, like, how do you feel about it? And they will be like, it was so fun, or it was so terrifying, you know? So like, there is a thrill in cutting your own hair. And like, one of my favorite tools is my guarded razor. I'm holding this up right now. I love my feather guarded razor because you can't cut yourself. So this is a really great tool to use. Like, I cannot cut myself with it. And I have used a straight razor, not a straight razor because it's like, but it's just an unguarded razor basically on myself at the back of my head when my pixie was really, really short, and I managed to slice my hand wide open. And hands are big bleeders, in case you didn't know that. So are ears. They're big bleeders. And I stopped that. But then I was like, you know what? I need to just keep this at home. So this is what I keep at home now. And this is my favorite tool for just doing bangs, doing little bits around my face. If I want face framing, it's a great tool to use on kids, especially little kids, if they kind of reach up or they're moving a lot, because you can't cut them. They can't cut themselves on it. So that's a really, really great tool. And, you know, Courtney, that could be something that really helps you in the future if you want to cut your hair again without cutting yourself or cutting too much off. And the last thing I will add though, did you ever see that? It was on TikTok, I'm sure. I saw it on Instagram. This girl pulls her bangs down and like pull them real tight. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have.
Oh, where she cuts it and then like they pop back up because, you know, hair has some pop to it, right? And her face, oh, I laughed and then I just felt bad. I was like, oh, it's just the worst. So like when I'm cutting bangs probably take me longer than anything. And so like, let's talk about cutting bangs. Like if you're going to cut bangs, figure out where you want them to land and then cut them a good ½ inch longer than that. Maybe a whole inch longer than that, especially if they're wet. A guarded razor, I can't talk today. A guarded razor needs to be used on wet hair for the most part, unless you want a lot of texture and like kind of grit to your hair. But if you want it to stay smooth, use it on wet hair. Man, if you're cutting on wet hair, make sure that you remember it's going to pop up more than you think it does. So
yes, wet hair is longer than dry hair.
Hair's always longer than dry hair. What tips do you have about bangs or fringe? Have you ever had bangs or fringe? Have you done a lot of face framing on yourself or on any friends?
I have. I haven't cut bangs on any other human. I've
Okay.
not been that brave. I do want to say real quick before we move past it too far is my do's and don'ts of DIY haircut is don't be scared. I understand that there are people who will not DIY haircut themselves because they are too scared. Don't be scared. It's hair. It grows. Cut off just the tiniest little bit and then step back and take a look. See, you didn't destroy your hair.
Ease into it. Ease into it.
Don't be afraid. Do be willing to take off small bits, make small changes. The whole point of a DIY haircut is to not wildly transform yourself. Leave that to the stylist. If you are wanting to radically change the shape of your cut, your length, leave that to somebody else. Be willing, though, to just stretch the time in between cuts. Take that really straggly bit that's been tangling on you every single wash day and annoying the bejesus out of you. Smooth that out and trim off those ends that are probably pretty fried, and that's why they are snagging on each other. So, talking about fringe, I personally really hate fringe with an absolute burning passion on myself because if my hair touches my face, it ruins my day. I also am incredibly oily greasy. And when I did have those super cool swoopy bangs in the early 2000s that everybody had, by 3 o'clock, they were oil slicks. It was horrible because I hadn't discovered this magical thing called dry shampoo. If you do have bangs and you are very, very oily greasy, dry shampoo will be your friend. Those are my only comments on fringe. Allison, take it away because you have a lot more to say about that.
I think fringe is amazing. Now, if you're a client who hates, if you're a client of mine that hates her hair touching her face, Courtney, I will not give you bangs. I will not give that person bangs because it will drive them nuts. It's a whole sensory situation, and I totally understand it. So bangs are so important because you have to make sure, number one, that you don't cut them too short. There's so many different kinds of bangs. I talk about this a lot in my DIY class. It's like the whole beginning is like talking about all the different shapes of bangs because they can be sort of like shorter in the middle and then longer on the sides. They can have connection points, or they can be almost like a micro bang, which I've given a client before, which it was totally her vibe. It looked amazing. They almost always need to have some layering done to them. So if you're cutting at home, the chances of you doing that are very slim to none because turning your head to the side and trying to cut them and see what you're doing is just very hard to do. So when you ask for bangs, especially if you're someone with like a lot of hair, if you have high density, make sure that that stylist knows how to do those in like small sections, that they don't just cut one section at a time. I have so many clients with high density that have horror stories of what happened to them when they got bangs and it was just cut straight across and they poofed away out and they can never have bangs. I've got many clients who've been told they cannot have bangs. And I'm like, anybody can have bangs. I did bangs on a 7-year-old curly girl. I need to get permission from her mom to share her pictures on my Instagram, but check my Instagram out later for pictures of her. I'm sure she'll say, yes, she's so cute. We did these little curly bangs and we did some connection in here. She'd wanted them for a long time. It's all about how far back you can go. You got to find the natural point. You can take your comb and set your comb on your hand, and where it lifts up from your head when it's straight back here is generally the point at which your bangs should start. You can go further back if you want a thicker bang. You can go more forward towards your forehead if you want a thinner bang, but generally my rule of thumb is a thicker fringe is a more obedient fringe. I'll say it again for emphasis. A thicker fringe is a more obedient fringe. People generally want to start small and do something wispy, and then they don't like their fringe at all because it doesn't have enough friends. There's not safety in numbers for those people to behave. So I would say that get a slightly thicker fringe if you're wanting to do it for the first time.
So I feel like this is the perfect question for you to walk into, Allison. Allison, your hair looks great. I'm having a cut on Thursday, so this is so timely. I need a fringe as I don't. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not fully
I don't like
understanding.
not to have one. She likes to have a fringe. She doesn't like herself without a fringe. I totally get that.
My Friday brain could not do the double negative today.
Oh,
I am so sorry. Can you
yeah.
recommend if I should ask for, I like it wispy? Okay, so she wants a fringe, but she wants it wispy. Allison, what should she do?
Go get a wispy then. Because what I'm hearing is I need a fringe and I don't like to not have one. This sounds like someone who's had fringe before. She's probably had it wispy before. Or if it's been on the thicker side or the not layered. What I find is that when it's too thick, it's because it's not layered. You don't have bits and pieces, especially on my clients. You don't have bits and pieces in here that are shorter on the top, or they haven't taken a tool like a razor and taken out just channels, just little petals, if you will, of hair to make sure that fringe sits appropriately. You can still have it be on the wispy-ish side as long as you have enough hair coming forward. And what I mean by that is still going back far enough from your forehead onto the top of your head where that appropriate point is, and then taking out enough channels of hair so that it feels wispy without those bits sort of sticking out. Those channels need to be cut from underneath. And I do show all this in my DIY class. I wish I could really give you a visual if you're just listening to this podcast. So definitely go back and find episode 5 on our YouTube channels if you are listening to this and you wish you had a visual. So what should she ask for? What should I recommend? Maybe it's currently wispy and she needs it to be thicker. I would ask for a thicker fringe. So just trying to understand this question and making sure that I'm like giving her what she wants. I would always recommend a thicker fringe and always take pictures. I saw a question about that pop up somewhere. Someone was asking about, is it okay to bring a photo? And I thought about that earlier and didn't say it when we were talking about how to communicate to your stylist. Pictures really do speak 1,000 words. Sometimes I have clients who are afraid to bring me a photo of what they want because they're afraid that I will just give them that haircut. I never look at a haircut and go, okay, let's go. I look at that haircut the same way I have the conversation, which is, what do you like about that haircut? What do you not like about that haircut? How do you feel like this haircut model lady is similar to your hair texture, or is it not, right? Or is it what you're going for? So I really try to dissect the photo. So if you're going to ask for fringe, especially, bring a photo of the kind of fringes, like maybe 3 or 4 that you like. So your stylist can get an idea of like what you're going for in terms of like length and style and like your overall vibe. And also, as my friend Atoya Bass says, like, what does she say? Bangs are a lifestyle. And bangs really are a lifestyle. Have you seen her say that before? It cracks me up. Bangs are a lifestyle. They do require doing. You can't just comb them out and like go on your merry way. You have to at least find them and arrange them a bit so that they go from wet to dry in the way they want. Because once they are set, they are set. I don't think you really have to do that much to actually style them, but you have to arrange them when they are damp. That is probably the most important thing when it comes to if you're new with fringe or you have a new fringe style. But yes, always bring a photo. And if your stylist doesn't ask you the questions that I would ask, like, what do you like about it? What do you not? Go ahead and offer that up to them. This is what I like about these bangs. This is what I like about these layers. This is what I don't like about this length. I want mine shorter or longer. Can my density, this is another big thing, Courtney, you and I have talked about, can my density or lack thereof support all the layers that I want? And that was part of my conversation with my own stylist today was, I know that I don't have a ton of hair. Courtney, you have so much more hair than I do. You have like so much hair. I wish I had that much hair. I don't have that much hair. It might look like I do because it's kind of fluffy, but I really don't. I have more than I used to, but I still know that my hair gets to a certain length and I can't have all the layers I want because all I want is unicorn hair. I want it to be long. I want it to be layered. I want it to be big and slightly defined. I only want it all. Well, there have to be sacrifices. So take the photo, show them what you want, and then have a real conversation about what your density and texture can support and if that matches your style. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love that. In my experience, I personally have gotten better haircuts when I haven't taken pictures, but that may have just been my experience. I think I wasn't effectively communicating, like you said, Allison, this is what I like about this picture. In my experience, I have shown up and shown a picture and they're like, cool, you want the Rachel cut. And I'm like, no. I didn't want to be Rachel Green. too far. Done.
In her defense, everybody wanted to be Rachel Green for a while. So continue.
I totally understand. And it was great. And I actually went back to her because I could tell that this was way back when I was in college. I knew that she knew what she was doing. She did a great job, but we did better communicating when I just didn't show pictures. So I got in that habit of being able to explain what I personally enjoyed without the pictures, but I don't know.
I think that as long as you can communicate it, then you don't need the pictures. For example, I have one client. I know that there is a name for this something. It's not a disorder. It's just like a something. I can't think of what it is. And she told me that she has it. And it's where she literally cannot imagine what she wants her hair to look like. And I'm reading this next question from Daphne. And she says, since I never knew I had wavy hair, I don't know what I want it to look like. Like, I don't know how I want it to look. Would it be better to bring a photo of someone I want my hair to look like? Say like Tori Hunter. I don't even know who that is because I'm 85 and not cool. But would it be better to bring a photo of someone I want my hair to look like? So a photo of some kind. You know, the challenging thing about that is if you bring a photo of someone whose hair you want to look like, you need to make sure that that hair, in some ways at least, is somewhat similar to your own hair curl pattern. Because if it's wildly different, if it's very, very curly, but you like her hair, but you don't know if your hair can do that, that would be kind of a challenging thing to bring. I've had clients also bring in pictures of like cartoons or AI. The things that stylists get now is bonkers. We get all kinds of things. Like people will bring in pictures of, I haven't gotten a picture of anybody's dog yet, but I've gotten a picture of like AI. I've gotten cartoon pictures, like drawings and stuff. And I still really look at those and I try to interpret and extrapolate what it is that they are wanting to get out of that cut. So yes, I think pictures are always really, really helpful. And if you're like my client who cannot imagine what she wants her hair to look like, looking at pictures and bringing in a few, maybe different links is a really good idea because it can help your stylist go, okay, now let's look at your face shape. Let's look at your bone structure. Let's like I like to tell my clients we're going to play the imagination game. Have I done this on you, Courtney? Where we will hold up their hair in different points and say, okay, this is what your hair is going to look like if it's really short. And I'll kind of bunch it behind their head and bring it forward so we can see what it would look like really short with like a lot of layers, right? Or we'll bring it like right to their, if we have enough to play with, right to their like top of their shoulders and say, okay, if it was just brushing your shoulders, it would look like this. And we watch how their face changes. So yes, brings a lot of photos of things that you would enjoy and then see what your stylist has to say. And if you play the imagination game together, then you can find something that you feel like looks flattering on you. I hope that answers that question. But what would you add to that?
I have a question for you because I feel like you touched on this a little bit, but I would like to flesh this out more because I feel like wavy hair has a much wider range of variability in the outcome of the wash day. And what I'm meaning basically is I'm saying in a fancy way, some days wavy hair looks straight and some days wavy hair looks pretty darn curly, depending on what you do to it. In my experience, a wash day is made up of 3 components: my application technique, how I'm applying the product to my hair, how well I'm washing it, how well I'm conditioning it, how well I'm scrunching it, how well I'm diffusing it, plopping it, all those things. The next component is product. So which products I picked. Did I pick a hard hold gel? Did I pick a super cleansing shampoo? Did I pick a super moisturizing shampoo? Yada, yada, yada. The actual products I'm using on my hair. And then the third component is my haircut. If I have the absolute worst haircut on the planet for my hair and I still nail the washing and products, if my application and my products are really good, the wash day will turn out half decent. If I have the world's best haircut, it is perfection on earth, and I have really great products for my hair, but I apply them terribly, how my hair is going to look is pretty bad. So, but not horrendous because the other 2 legs are holding the stool up to some extent. So it's like 3 parts there. And how you want your wavy hair to look, it's kind of hard to manipulate wavy hair super, super, super much into being something that it's not. So if you want your wavy hair to look like 3B curls, that won't happen. But if you want your hair to hold a shape that's something that is doable with a haircut. Do you see what I'm getting at, Allison? Am I
I
making
do.
sense?
I
Or am I
do
talking in
totally.
circles?
No. It totally makes sense to me. So here's what I'm thinking. So in one of my classes, and I can't think of which one it is right now, in the workbook, there's a Venn diagram that I created that's exactly what you touched on. And it is that the sum of your look that day, the thing in the middle of those three pieces, is made up of your cut, its integrity, does it have layers in the right places, all that kind of stuff. The products that you use, are they too heavy for your hair? Are they too hard hold? Are they too fluffy and light? Did you use a sticky cream that made you have buildup? And then your application techniques. That third piece is, did you diffuse? That's probably the biggest one. And we're going to go back to that one because that's the one I really want to touch on the most based on what you were saying. Did you rake the products through your hair versus glazing or smoothing them over? Did you bother to scrunch at all? Did you diffuse your hair when it was halfway dry or from the beginning when it was really, really wet? Did you choose to air dry? Did you plop? Did you not? All those techniques, the things that you did. Yes, all those three things: techniques, product choice, product selection, and your haircut. Those three things equal what your wash day is going to look like. And if you change one of them, you will have a different wash day. It could be vastly different if you're a wavy and you do not diffuse and you air dry. It could be not that different if you have a great haircut and you did diffuse, but you used products that were like maybe not quite as hard hold, right? So I know that for me, products don't matter the least, but they're not the end all be all. I know that
What I'm hearing you say is that me as the person, I have control over at least two of those factors. Perhaps I'm not cutting my own hair, so I don't have control over that factor, but I have at least 2/3 control over how my wavy hair turns out. And that it's not the haircut that's the end all be all in how my hair turns out, but there's other factors that are influencing how it turns out. Okay.
absolutely 100%. The thing about wavy hair, I feel like I want everybody to, I'm going to say this one twice too. Wavy hair is open to suggestion. What do I mean by that? Wavy hair is open to suggestion. If you don't diffuse your hair, it's going to be a completely different animal than if you do pixie diffuse your hair, meaning you put the diffuser down at the lowest length of your hair and bring it all the way up to your scalp, like a pin curl. Like think of a 1920s pin curl, wrap a piece of hair around your finger and then pin it to your head, like all the way up to your scalp is going to make the curliest curl, right? Same with pixie diffusing. Maybe we should call it pin diffusing. Anyway, we'll call it pixie diffusing, okay? Because that's what they call it in the world. So if you pixie diffuse your hair, it can be pretty curly. If you are like a 2B person on a, let's say you're a 2B, 2C person on an air dry day, you can be a 3B person on a diffuse day. Easy peasy. Okay. If you're a 2A person on a wash day, on an air dry day, you could be a 2B, 2C person on a diffuse day. Easy. Yep. Right. So knowing that, yes, that your techniques can make a huge difference in what you do.
How do I preserve my hair overnight? No matter what I do, it looks horrible. I am personally with you right now because I am currently trying to limit myself from pulling my hair back in a tight and high pineapple. This has been the recommendation that I've been giving for eons, donkey years at this point, about how to preserve waves and curls at night. And it works, but it does stretch out that top layer. So currently, the thing that I have had the most success with is a device, something that I put on my head. It's called Bam Bon, BAMBONN. It's out of the UK. You can find it on Instagram and on the internet. And it's basically a tube of fabric or a buff that has 2 strings on it. And you put the buff on your head, shuffle the tube of fabric in your hair, flop it down, grab the 2 strings, and tie it on. Allison is very kindly showing us a video on her screen of the Bam Bon. I've had good luck with this. It stays on. It's comfortable. It doesn't hurt my ears. My curls
That's
aren't
the thing for
stretched
me
out.
is it always hurts the ears and it looks like it's really flat, like it's a really flat fabric. I'm so intrigued by this. You mentioned this on a podcast before and I meant to look it up. Now I'm going to follow them because I'm like, what? And they come in a lot of colors and they're really cute.
They
I
are. I think it works well for encouraging curl enhancement on the top of the hair specifically. I tend to have a looser curl pattern on the top of my head, and my underneath curls tend to be a little bit stronger.
Now,
So
why would that be? Let's talk about why that would be. Why would it encourage more curl closer to your root?
because it is taking the hair on top of the head and plopping it down onto itself.
I think of it as like an accordion, like we
Yes.
talked about before, like when we talk about like a microphone cable or a speaker cable, a hair dryer cable, it has its own way of winding, right? If you wind it down, your hair is the same way. So Courtney is exactly right. If you let that wind down in its natural pattern, it's going to, and then sit there overnight. That totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And because my underneath curls are a little bit stronger, what I mean by that is they're not as subject to hydrogen bond manipulation. Like when I sweat at night and I get a little warm and then they get a little damp, they still go back and curl up like they're supposed to. So it doesn't matter that it's kind of flat and squishing my head. If you are not like me, you may find that a bonnet works better. My current favorite bonnet is from Bounce Curl. It's adjustable. It's got this super cute ruffle. I never thought in a million years I'd be saying that a ruffle on a bonnet is cute, but it is. And it's silk, like silk satin material. It's very, very slippery. It's adjustable. I think I said that already. And it's really big. So if you have a longer head of hair, it's going to encapsulate all of your hair. Here's the thing about overnight hair protection. It's like finding the perfect pair of jeans. The one that fits me and works best for me and my hair may be horrendous for you. It may gap in the back and be too tight in the thighs. Like play around with it. You might find that refreshing your hair at night, right before you go to bed, perhaps adding a thin layer of I've seen people add mousse to dry hair and diffuse it and then go to bed. That tends to work. Maybe a layer of hairspray. Allison's making a face. Apparently that's horrendous.
That's horrendous for me, but to each their own. To each their own.
I have seen girls have really good success with that. Sometimes just taking your hair. You came up with this, Allison. You taught me this.
I was just thinking it. I know what you're going to say.
I won't take it from you. Go for it.
Let it settle. Is that what you're going to say?
Yep.
Okay. Because when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is stumble into the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror, nothing is good. Let it all settle. Walk away. Go to the bathroom. Go get a cup of coffee. Talk to your best friend. Check your text messages. Give yourself 20 minutes and then walk back in the bathroom and decide what you need to do. Because honestly, it's never as bad once gravity has kind of done something with it. So yes, number one, let it settle. Number two, figure out what you need to fix. You might just need to spot treat some bits. The whole thing might not need to be overhauled. You might just need to spritz a couple pieces, wrap them around your finger, sing happy birthday a couple times and let go. And oh, look, magically I have a perfect curl that I didn't use heat on. And that made all the difference. I also find that if you like the way the bits and pieces look around your face, you'll like everything about your hair better. So absolutely. I have a couple clients that have told me the back of their head is not their business. And I respect that deeply. I'm wow, I wish I could live that kind of life of freedom, right? I'm kind of obsessed with the back of my head. I have a mirror that shows me so I can see what's going on back there. But half my clients are no, I don't care. I just want to see what's in the front. So if you like what's happening in the front, mess with those pieces. I promise you, it's not as horrible as you think. We are all our worst critics. And I'm sure you are putting yourself under a microscope and just dissecting yourself a bit. Don't do that. Let it go. Okay. I've got a question I want to pop up. Can I grab this one? I love it. Okay. How long does it take for my thickness to come back after thinning shears? I know. Did you see this one?
I did not see this.
Oh, it hurts me. Thinning shears are not a wavy girl's friend. You guys, they're just not. How long should I wait to get my hair cut? My waves and curls are coming back slowly. I'm so sorry this happened to you. They really can be used in an all right way. I've seen them used on the ends, if someone's ends are just really, really thick and the hairdresser wants them to be piecier and they'll kind of run them through. Is that way? Have you done this before and it worked for you well? It does. You can run them through and create a look. But if you put it up into someone's hair and you basically clamp it and it takes really blunt chunks of hair out in like almost like what you would consider stripes, that will ruin so many curl families.
And if they are cut really high, it's going to take years for it to grow out to the rest of the length of your hair. So
yes, so it's already happened. We're sorry that happened to you. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you see us both freaking out and all of the faces that Courtney and I are making, if you see the thinning shears come out and you've never had that done before, just say, let's try a different way, please. Or what are those? Can you tell me what you're going to use those for today, mister? And then you can kind of direct that conversation a different way. I totally got Kenneth from 30 Rock in my head just now. I'm so sorry.
That was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. So like, how long should I wait to go get my hair cut? Because I don't know how long your hair is and how long you want it to be. If you are in a situation like me where you felt like you were growing out a pixie for like 11 years, I would say lean real hard into the grow out. Like you're just going to have an ugly phase for a while. Wear hats, wear cute barrettes, wear lots of big earrings, wear red lipstick, do distracting things.
Claw clips are in, and there's so many cute claw clips now.
Yes. Target has them all and they're so cheap. They're like adorable. That's a great
Dollar Tree has the cutest claw clips. I've bought way too many claw clips from Dollar Tree lately. What? Anyway.
Okay. But you can't use because you're not wearing your hair like that now. So we'll come back to that one later. Questions of a wavy girl. So what we're saying is find some distracting ways to lean into it. I still wouldn't go, and this was a question I saw earlier, I still wouldn't go maybe longer than 4 months without at least dusting your ends over the sink. If you feel comfortable to do that, or go have a stylist do that for you. 4 to 5 months is generally like the maximum. I get my hair cut by a professional once every 6 months, and I have some clients that do the same thing. You just might have to take a little bit more off at that point. It's not the end of the world, but lean real hard into that grow out. And when you go back, make sure that, I would be curious as to why they use the thinning shears. Is your hair really, really dense and you had asked for it to feel thinner? In which case I would trust somebody to use a razor to blend out bits of hair in a conservative-ish way, so they're not taking too much out at a time, and see how you like that. And that might be a way to actually help those grow out. So there are definitely some options there, but lean in, you can do it. Okay, do we want to do another question before we dive into our product spotlight? Do we want to do product spotlight today? Okay.
One more. My part extends down the back and separates my hair. How do I fix it? I have fine wavy hair. Girl, okay, real quick. I have some thoughts, and then Allison, you take it away. I have a double cowlick in the back of my head, which means instead of one swirly spot, I have two, which makes my part do that thing, extend like 10 years all the way in the back of my head. Here is what I've been doing to combat that. When I style my hair, I've got my crispy, crunchy cast. I have diffused. I am done. Or like my hair's 90% dry and I'm leaving it in the cast for a little bit longer so that it can fully dry before I scrunch it out. I get a little T9C jaw clip and I clip over the part. I just clip that bad boy shut and let my hair finish and dry and set with the hair clipped together over that spot. Then when I'm done, I take that jaw clip out, scrunch out the crunch, fluff my roots. And if I've got like a hair pick, I will take that hair pick and run it over that spot and zigzag the teeth of the pick over that spot to encourage the hair to go over that.
Like you're almost massaging that hair apart.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, Allison, that's what I do. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think clips are everything, whether you use a claw clip or whether you use those like double prong clips that I like to use for lift. I have several videos on my YouTube channel about how to use those. I know Courtney does probably as well, don't you? I mean, you don't use the root clips. Oh,
I hate root clips. I hate them so much.
I'm addicted to root clips. So we'll have to agree to disagree on that, but that is fine. So I love the root clips. And I think that you can do like what she did and pinch them together and then like pin them in that little spot. The other thing you can do, this is what I do with my daughters. If I like, they want to have like braids at night. So they wake up in the morning and they have like kind of wavy-ish hair. It's kind of more controlled. I do a zigzag part all the way down the back of their hair. So if you want to try and see if you can almost retrain that, you might try like washing your hair at night occasionally, doing a zigzag part in the back, and maybe braiding your hair and seeing if you can kind of train that out of your hair. It's just a thought. It's just an idea, because like Courtney said, bringing it together is really important. But if it's really, because I've seen a few clients that it goes way down far in the back of their hair, I will almost take, when I'm styling my client's hair, like 2 bits of hair from either side of that split, that cowlick, and lace them over each other and like pin it as I'm diffusing their hair. So it's like I'm almost creating like a braid of sorts on the back of their head, if that makes sense. So there are definitely a few ways to combat that, but it takes some very specific practicing. And if you don't have a mirror, we're in the opposite territory of the people that are like, the back of my hair is not my business. You're like, the back of my hair is important. Get yourself one of those swing arm mirrors. I have one in my Amazon shop. It's the exact same model that I have, that I stole from a roommate years and years ago that moved out and forgot about it, but I became addicted to it and I had to keep it. And I don't even remember her name anymore to like try to give it back. It's just been with me now for like 20 years. So that's where we're at.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, at least it lasted that long.
It has lasted. I don't remember the brand, but it's wonderful because I can pull it out and I can still see the back of my head in my mirror or in that mirror. And I know what's going on back there.
It sounds like that swing arm mirror needs to be your product spotlight, but I think you had something else you wanted to talk about.
No, not at all. I want to hear your product spotlight. Go ahead. Let's do this.
Okay. My product spotlight is this. If you cannot see the video, it is the perfect hair care towel. This is the microfiber towel that I have been using since 2019. I got it fairly early on. Before I started getting all fancy with my microfiber, I was using a cotton t-shirt to plot my hair. Worked great. Loved it. I stole some of my husband's undershirts and then made sure to wash them with our red towels so it turned pink and he would never wear it again. And it was my towel for my hair.
I like your strategery there. That was great.
Sorry, hun. It was actually an accident. I was just dumb. So
the truth comes out. Confessions of a wavy girl.
I am ruining all the confessions for next time. This is terrible. The reason I didn't go get a microfiber towel for so long is that the majority of them had those loops on them. My only experience with microfiber towels was the ones that when you run your hand over it, it feels like the towel is clinging to you. It was a sensory issue. I couldn't stand the feeling of a microfiber towel. And I thought,
I hate that.
As soon as I touch this on my hair, it's going to pull all of these tiny little hairs out of their curl families and create frizz. Like, why is this what we use for our curly hair? Diva Curl had one and I was like, no, I'm not. No, cotton t-shirt all the way.
Yep.
But then I started using the Perfect Hair Care. And if you are watching live, you can see that there are no loops on this thing. It's also a very cute leopard pattern, but here's what the other side looks like. It's perfectly smooth. There's no loops, but it still has the absorbency of microfiber. And added bonus, it has this little loop closure on it. So when I plot my hair in it and wrap up the tail, I can hook the end and pull the end tight so that it stays on my head, plops my hair, doesn't come off. I can run the kids to school with my hair in the plop and it's not going to move. It's going to stay. So
you're going to look like Marge Simpson, but it's okay because it's going to look really cute.
I do look cute because it is leopard print.
It is not purple. It is not purple like Marge's hair. Or is it blue?
They do have a pink one and a blue one. And they've got all these different colors and they make me happy. And so my product spotlight is the Perfect Hair Care Towel. It's one of those things that you purchase one time. It's non-consumable. And it improves the health of your hair over time because it removes a ton of water from your hair, less dry time, less exposure to heat if you're bad like me, and diffuse my hair with some heat because I want my hair to go ahead and dry because I don't have patience. And it's really, really smooth. It's not going to be causing frizz. It's not heavy. 10 out of 10, like this towel.
I have one that's similar. It's called the hair repair towel. I've used for years. And I do tell my clients, you're someone who's always after definition. My clients who are seeking definition, I do tell them for sure, use a t-shirt towel over a microfiber towel or even over a cotton t-shirt because it will not remove quite as much water as like a microfiber towel. It doesn't have all that surface area that will pull. So that's also giving you some definition right there. If you didn't know that was giving you definition points, it 100% is. Okay. I have two product spotlights. One hair related that I already talked about, but I wanted to talk about it again because it's amazing. If you are going to DIY your haircut, definitely get yourself a guarded feather razor. It just makes it so much easier. And in my DIY video, I do so many of the things on myself with that versus shears, because when you have two blades coming at each other and your hands are in the way, it's so easy to cut yourself. So big props to Feather for creating a guarded razor so that, you know, people like me don't cut themselves. Okay, this is my other one though. This has been sitting in my lap this entire time. This is my weighted vest. Have you gotten a weighted vest yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, Courtney, they are the best. Sorry, this is so loud on the speaker if I'm putting this on. I absolutely love my weighted vest. This one is 12 pounds, I want to say. The goal, because I'm very into like the perimenopause, like my body's falling apart in front of my eyes, I got to preserve it, I want to live to 100 kind of thing and feel good about it, is that like you start to see really good results in terms of increasing your bone density and muscle mass when you use one that's at least 10% of your body weight. So I recommend working up to something like that, but I wear this bad boy. Now, this is my home one. She's pink because I love hot pink. I will list the brand in the show notes. It's Zelus, Z-E-L-U-S. I liked this one specifically. I think it's $30-something because it came with this little neoprene pouch that I can put my phone in and my headphones in. And just because I lose my phone around my house about 75 times a day. And so this will be in there so that I can walk around and have it like on me and I haven't lost it. Although I did ding it the other day from my watch and it rang right here next to my ear. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to put it in there. So I love this thing. I wear it when I am vacuuming. I wear it when I'm washing dishes. I wear it when I am typing. I wear it also because it's only 12 pounds and I have gotten used to it. It's taken me about 6 months. I started out with a slightly heavier vest, but it took me a while to work up to wearing it all the time. But I will wear this when I do squats. I will wear this when I lift and do arm workouts. I will wear this when I'm doing like lunges or all the time. I'm wearing this one around the house all the time. I do have a much heavier vest that I wear when I go for like walks, and I want the walk to be a workout. And that one's about 20% of my body weight. So weighted vest, I know you see everybody wearing them now. They come in all different ones. I like the one that feels more like a loop that goes around like and under your arms rather than one that's like a bib. Just personal preference, but I'm in love with my weight vest. Highly recommend.
How many hours a day are you shooting for wearing this? Is there?
I don't have a goal.
Okay.
I don't have a goal. I mean, I usually try to get in at least 10,000 steps a day. And I would love to have this on for probably a third of that if I could.
Wow. Okay. Goal. I don't think I've hit 10,000 steps in years. You're amazing.
That's my norm. If I don't get 10,000 steps in a day, I'm going to have a hard time falling asleep. But I have to wear myself out to fall asleep.
Interesting. Okay. See, I lift heavy things.
I do that too.
Go to the gym and do the squats with the giant.
You lift very heavy things. Like I will do like 20 pounds for bicep curls, right? But like you lift the big bad barbell. I work out in my bedroom gym. I don't go to the gym and lift the big barbells. You will lift the heavy things for your legs. And that is amazing.
And I feel nice and tired after that. So
that's good.
The idea of adding 10,000 steps on top of that, I think that's why my brain balked at that. But now I totally see why you're doing that. It makes so much sense. I need to get me a weighted vest, Allison.
You know,
this sounds like the way to go.
It turns your cardio into something that is more than just cardio. Like I would wear this if I was walking on a treadmill, if I was doing an elliptical machine, I wear it for my walks around the neighborhood. Now, I do have a little trampoline in my room, like a little rebounder, which I love. I should make that my product spotlight sometime, but it's like all the way in my bedroom, which is across the house. And I would never wear this on the rebounder. I did try one time and it was a mistake. So I'll just leave it at that. Confessions of a Wavy Girl. Okay.
I could see you bouncing on that and then like competing with the vest as it's bouncing, and it's like
I was holding it and
up.
trying to get it to not like it hit me, and I was like, maybe this is not what I no, this is not meant for that. So I gave it some idea. But I love the weighted vest. So if you guys are not into it, check it out. I love mine. So yay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us this time. This was so much fun. I hope this has given you guys some tools. Courtney and I talked about this for a while. We really want you guys to have the tools that you need to talk to your hairdresser, to know what to ask for, show them the pictures, dissect it, all the things that you need to do to be able to get what you want. And if you want to keep that up in between, know what to do, and almost more importantly, what not to do.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. It's an absolute honor that you take time out of your day to sit and chat all things hair. Remember, it is just hair and it grows. Your haircut is not the end all be all to how your hair turns out. You have the majority of the control over what your hair looks like when you wash and style it. Enjoy the process of playing around and figuring out what cuts you like and what you don't. Give yourself some grace, take a deep breath, and enjoy the process.
Have fun with it. It's hair. It's an accessory.
And as always, we sure hope you are having an absolutely fantastic day, and we can't wait to see you for episode 6.
We'll see you next Friday, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.